we'll see how things do break down here as we get ready for round number 6 of action. Witten's going to start with a Wooded Foothills. Even tougher now for Fabiano because he's on the draw, too.
Yep.
Jeez. And I imagine this is one of the last things he wants to see is a basic mountain.
Mm-hmm. Peels back a handful of fetch lands and thought seizes and 6-mana cards.
I mean, this isn't too surprising because kind of the story coming into the tournament was, you know, Obs on decks, Den Protector, Deathmish Raptor. That's what people are up to, and so I want to try to beat that strategy by trying to trump it. And Gerard's trying to go over the top of it.
You're seeing the two schools of thought right here. Zack's trying to go underneath, and Gerard's trying to go over the top.
Yeah. Zergo was the play there from Witten, and now here's the Thoughtseize. Witten's hand's got 2 copies of Wild Slash, pretty poor in this matchup. A backup Zergo and then a Founder's Denizen along with a copy of Mana Confluence.
This is one of the better hands that Gerard can see right here.
It really is.
Because he takes the Founder's Denizen, the second copy of Zergo doesn't do anything. One removal spell or just land drops into a big play, and Gerard might be able to steal game 1.
Witten will draw a card. Picked up a copy of Dragon Fodder, so that will be the play here in just a moment. That's a huge draw for him, too.
That's about perfect here. I think that if Zack did not have a follow-up play this turn, he could potentially be in some huge trouble. But now Gerard really needs Bile Blight or some other big sweeper.
Yep, there's an attack for 2. And a passing of the turn, back Fabiano's way. A Temple. Take a look at the top card here, Fabiano. It's going to become the bottom card. Pass that turn back over to Witten. Witten will draw. He's going to serve in here for 4 points of damage. That's the easy part. Fabiano's down to 12. There's a Wooded Foothills and pass the turn back, and 2 Wild Slashes in hand. You can see just how tough this matchup is for Fabiano. You know, he drew a card this turn like Hero's Downfall. Just doesn't trade effectively at all.
The good news for Gerard here is that he did have the copy of Urborg. It's going to save him a lot of life over the course of this game, allow him to Thoughtseize on the first turn, and now his Flooded Strands and Polluted Deltas, if he happens to draw them, do not have to be sacrificed. He can just use them for black mana.
Going to sacrifice the fetch line here. We'll Witten on the upkeep. Thin his deck out a little bit. Doesn't have to search up the forest, given that he has a Mana Confluence. We'll see what his draw step will be here in just a second.
Hard to overstate how important that Dragon Fodder was off the top there for Zack on the second turn.
Yeah, it's really true.
Clock is 4 damage instead of 2, and it means that 1 removal spell doesn't undo his entire start.
Here's an attack for 4. Fabiano going to use Hero's Downfall on a token. No real sense in killing the Zergo because he knows there's a backup copy in hand.
Exactly. You know, there's nothing to be gained there, so it does reduce the clock from 4 points of damage to 3, which is significant when Gerard's at 12.
Fabiano, of course, able to use that Flooded Strand for mana thanks to the Urborg that he does have in play as he takes a draw step here in his 4th turn of the game. Picked up a copy of Dig Through Time.
But remember, Gerard knows about the 2 copies of Wild Slash, too.
Yep. So he's at a virtual 5.
Yep. And he sort of has to, he's made his bet with Zergo here to some extent. He can't really kill it because he knows about the second copy in Zack's hand. So he's going to have to take his shots here or find some way to block it or otherwise invalidate it.
Fabiano doing a little bit of math, trying to figure out how many turns he's going to get to play this game, if he's ever even going to get to cast that Dig Through Time.
And if he does want to cast the Dig Through Time, it means he has to break the Flooded Strand here for an island, and that's another point of damage.
Mm-hmm. Make that another Flooded Strand now. He might need more blue mana. Of course, he can't tap for black because of the Urborg, but that's all part of it as he passes the turn back. Looks like we're getting Wild Slash number 1. Fabiano's going to sacrifice, it looks like, the Flooded Strand. He'll go down to 8. We'll have an island on the way, I imagine. And we do.
But these sort of mana exchanges for Gerard are not very efficient or profitable. And when you're in a position where you have to be dissolving Wild Slashes, really demonstrates how much of an uphill battle Gerard has game 1.
There is the dissolve. So a little scry. That top card will go to the bottom. Now here's another Wild Slash. Fabiano's going to go down to 6.
I mean, Gerard's playing this game like he has to hope Zack draws nothing but lands and Zergos for the rest of the game.
And that's all he can do.
Yep.
Here's an attack for 3. Fabiano's going to go down to 3, and now there's a Stoke the Flames. And that's going to make it pretty easy. Zack Witten's going to win game number 1 here over Gerard Fabiano. Atarka Red very quickly up a game over Esper Control, which we expected to see in game 1, given how Fabiano's deck is built. However, we take a look at the sideboard. You'll find 2 Duresses, 2 Tasker of the Golden Fang, another copy of Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, a Narset Transcendent, a Surge of Righteousness, 2 Radiant Purge, 3 Nyxfleece Ram, and 3 Drown Sorrow. So he can definitely shore some things up.
Yeah, I mean, Radiant Purge, Nyxfleece Ram, Drown Sorrow, Duress, and Tassiker, I think, are all coming in. This is going to be essentially a new deck post board where Gerard gets to cut the slower cards or the cards that deal damage to himself. Cards like Thoughtseize probably leave. Cards like Utter End that are just a little bit too slow to matter get to leave the deck, and he gets to become a lot more proactive. Block much earlier on in the game and try to win faster with something like Tassiger.
On the other side of things here for Zack, pretty straightforward sideboard as far as the Atarka Red is concerned. There's a Scouring Sands, a Searing Blood, 4 copies of Rose, 4 Eidolon of the Great Revel, a Destructive Revelry, another copy of Goblin Rabble Master, 2 Heel Cutters, and a Hall of Triumph. 4
copies of Eidolon of the Great Revel seem great for this matchup. Zack's life total is essentially free from his side of the table. Even if he gets it to trigger once against Gerard, that's a good use. Once you get past that, it sort of depends what he anticipates on the other side of the table. I think the Goblin Rabble Master will come in as well, just pretty potent against Esper decks in general. And then past that, if he's expecting Tassiker or other big cards, even like Nyxfleece Ram, Rose could come in. If he doesn't want to bring in something that's specific but still respects the possibility of Gerard having creatures, you may see the 2 copies of Goblin Heel Cutter come in, but he may want to have some anti-creature measures, expecting Gerard to side in something like Tassiger or some other random ground threat.
Well, these players will shuffle up here for game number 2. Fabiano will be on the plane. He's someone who has had a lot of success on the Open Series and Magic in general. I mean, the career accomplishments for Gerard, there are quite a few of them, man.
Goes all the way back. Our first match was the state championships in New Jersey in 1999. One of the few level 50 Planeswalker point people in the world. 9 Open Series top 8s, a Pro Tour top 8 Boston. That was teams in 2002. 9 Grand Prix top 8s, 3 wins. Baltimore, Montreal, and Philadelphia back in 2008. That was old extended. And in his spare time, or I guess as not his spare time, as a full-time job, he's a high school teacher.
Can't forget about the Truth Tour that he did as well. Really awesome stuff with that.
Yeah, Gerard is definitely an anti-smoking advocate. He has also recently penned an anti-bullying rap song, which has been circulating around the internet. So a man of many interests.
And I can't forget his tryout for King of the Nerds.
Yep, there was that too. There's been a lot of ancillary side projects for Gerard over the last 8 or so years.
He's a lovable guy, and he's number 6 on our Season 2 leaderboard. He would need some crazy things to happen for him to win the points championship this week. I think it's rather unlikely for those situations to occur, but for him, an at-large bid is certainly on the table.
Yeah, for sure. He's had a great 2015 so far. Almost all the scenarios where someone like Gerard, Ross Merriam, so forth, making it on points this weekend involves Kevin Jones.
Yeah.
If he wins the Invitational, then things start passing down.
Yeah. So that's what's going to have to happen for Fabiano to get the Season 2 point championship that way. That said, again, an at-large bid, very likely. And we can't forget, too, among those accomplishments, 2nd place in the Players' Championship last year.
Yep, fell a little bit short against Brad Nelson in the finals, but had a great run through that tournament as well.
So he'll lay out 7 cards. We'll see if he's happy with what he's found. Again, he has really geared his sideboard, towards beating these aggressive strategies. I mean, when's the last time we saw a Nyxfleece Ram?
Yeah, I mean, Gerard understands game 1 is not going to be good. And his hand, game 1, for the matchup, wasn't actually all that bad. And Zack's draw was not explosive. And Gerard still died with 4 or 5 cards in his hand. But post-board, Gerard's bringing a lot to the table.
Rarely do we see a game-winning dragon fodder, yet that's basically what that was for Zack.
If it was any other reasonable threat, I think Zack would have been okay. He just needed something else. But if he missed there on the 2nd turn, I think Gerard would have been able to steal that game because Zack's hand was soft otherwise. But the dragon fodder was too much for Gerard to overcome.
Looks like Fabiano was going to keep his hand, and Witten's going to take a mulligan. Not happy with what he saw. So we'll see if he can find a better 6. Temple of Deceit is where we're going to kick things off here. There's a Foundry Tree Denizen for Witten. An Urborg and a Duress. Duress, very, very good against Tarka Red because a lot of her creatures actually are spells.
Yeah, Whirling Outburst and Dragon Fodder are fine targets. I don't think you want to bring in Duress just to fight over burn spells. That's not really the element of the deck that Gerard's worried about, but since so many of the threats are spells as well, Duress a very solid sideboard option for Gerard.
Did you see the grip there? Duress done resolving. Dragon Fodder's got to bite the dust. We're going to head Witten's way. There's Mana Confluence. Here's Eidolon the Great Revel. Trigger, of course, for the Foundry Denizen. An attack for 2 and a passing of the turn. Does Fabiano have Drown in Sorrow is the question.
Well, he's slow rolling himself. He may not have land number 3.
He does not.
I called it.
Yeah.
I knew it was up. He wouldn't slow roll himself if he needed the Drown. He would slow roll himself if he needed land number 3.
Fair enough.
I know this man.
Oh, yes, you do.
We go back.
Eidolon number 2 was the draw.
Oh, this is kind of awkward because you're worried about Bile Blight. But you also don't want to just be swinging with a 1/1 Foundry Tree Denizen.
See what spell Zack wants to cast here.
If it's another Foundry Tree Denizen, I don't mind that for splitting the difference because then your Eidolon triggers if he has Bile Blight.
Yeah.
And you keep your Eidolon.
Yep. He'll take 2. Now he'll come across for 4. That'll work. Pass the turn back. Fabiano. Well, he drew a land.
Brutal.
This is all part of playing 3 colors, man.
Yep. And Gerard plays with a lot of scry lands. This is going to happen a percentage of the time, but
Yeah.
the timing, the matchup, this is not when you want it to happen.
Now Fabiano's got to do the math and figure out what's going to happen here to me. You can tell he is not thrilled with that draw.
And he couldn't kill anything last turn, which means he probably can't kill anything this turn if he drew a land.
So if that's the case, I love playing the Eidolon. There's a land. Yeah, this is really smart. I really, really like that. Yes, you take 2, but you get to deal a bunch of damage, and now the Drown in Sorrow that you believe your opponent has deals them 4.
Yep.
There's an attack for 6. Fabiano's going to go down to 8.
And Zack has Stoke in hand.
Yep.
So even Drown is unlikely to be enough for Gerard. Now, Zack doesn't have land number 4 yet, but he's in a lot of trouble.
There's Sorin is the play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, then Zack is in even better shape than we thought.
Yeah, never mind then.
Gonna make a vampire. Witten will draw. Picked up a copy of Whirling Outburst.
I think land number 4 is just lethal here because Zack can attack and Stoke.
Just about everything is lethal.
Yeah, this is lethal in a million different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, this also works.
Yep. You get 6 triggers from the 2 Eidolons that are in play. Now he does have to take 2. You get 6 triggers from the Foundry Denizens that are in play. The Eidolons you only get 2 triggers of that.
Right.
So he's gonna go down to 10.
And Zack still has, I believe, untapped land number 4 plus Stoke. I mean, he's...
And he's gonna play
Yeah, I
Stoke
mean,
right now.
you do it however you want, man.
Yeah.
all roads lead to Rome.
I wouldn't bother attacking that Sorin. That's all. That is going to do it. Zack Witten's going to win this match here over Gerard Fabiano. 2-0. A Tarka Red will take care of Esper Control. Zack Witten is 6-0 in this tournament.
Yeah, it looks like Gerard, if Gerard didn't have Drown in that hand, it looks like he probably kept a bit of a sketcher.
Yeah.